Well,
Welcome. Oh, go ahead, Mickey.
welcome to the DeFi Standard. This is Mickey B. Fresh.
And I'm Patty XRP.
Yeah, here's Patty. Didn't realize I was doing opening today.
Yeah, I
Well,
think we messed that up.
welcome everyone. Well, we got a fresh mic. That's one thing we can say for sure.
Yeah.
Today, no issues with the mic. So first thing we want to talk about is what's going on with the XRP Ledger and what is the story with basically the last few days of some of the issues with the Zum wallet. Well, not the Zum wallet specifically, about sending actually transactions through. So really, let's break down what the story with that is, and is it going to be a problem going future? Is the sky falling? Is the XRP Ledger maxed out? So what's going on here, Patty?
Yep. So I would say the reaction is definitely a lot bigger than what is actually going on the ground. So with this, to kind of start off, the general thing that happened is so much load, which can be either writing transactions through the ledger, but it also can be reading them. So you can think about, like, if you're writing, to a contract to do something, you want to perform some function on the XRP ledger. This can be setting trust lines. This could be, sending XRP to your friend or whatever that may be. So obviously we've had explosive growth in trust lines in the past couple of months, and we'll get into just how explosive it is with some metrics. But, essentially here also with these trust lines is every time you add one under an account, that's an additional piece of data that people are querying whenever they're refreshing their wallet or doing all that stuff. And, on its face, if you're just an individual that sets 10 or 20 trust lines to get some airdrops and you go in there and mess around with it, like, that's extremely low load on, some of this infrastructure that's supporting the XRP ledger. But when you have bot farmers and things like that are possibly setting up tens of thousands of wallets, tens of thousands of trust lines, reading a bunch of information and trying to query nodes and all that stuff, and it's all funneling through just a few nodes through that the Zum application utilizes, and like Sologenic DEX and some of the other UIs you're used to. Well, that started making those nodes overused. They were overloaded, and so with that, it started raising the fees on transactions for those nodes. And with that, most of the applications we use that are front ends, user interfaces, so that's like Zum, XRP Toolkit, Sologenic DEX, with those, they had hard coded the fees into the UI to where if the fee actually rose above 12 drops, that it wouldn't let you do a higher fee. That would just be the default fee that you use. Now they have all made updates on either the fee will be variable and move up so you can get transactions through, or, XRP Toolkit lets you manually enter the fee you want to use. In fact, if you guys haven't seen XRP Dev, he has a YouTube channel and he was kind of covering this stuff the past couple of days and had some really great videos that helped me understand what was going on. When people weren't able to send transactions through Zum, I actually, I saw his video pop up. I think somebody maybe tweeted out or whatever. And I took a listen. He went in, he was actually interacting with the code, and he set his own transaction fee and it went through immediately. So I'm like, all right, let me connect my Zum wallet to the XRP toolkit. I went in there, I rose the fee from the 12 drops default to 100 drops, which is still insanely low. It's, fractions of a penny at that point. And I was able to send my transaction through immediately when a lot of people were getting an error that was like, the queue is full. So, what happened was there's only so much room in the queue. And since everybody was putting in transactions that were lower than the required fee, it was queuing them all. And then anybody that tried to come in after was not able to hop in the queue and would just get a failed transaction, essentially. Now, there's some other issues like, it's really good for if you're a project and stuff like that, you should be running your own node at least. It doesn't have to be full history, and it doesn't have to be, you don't have to be a validator. Surely you can do that if you want, but having your own node so that like you're routing the transactions from your project into kind of your own infrastructure can help spread that out throughout the network. Also, there's some issues probably with some of the source code for Rippled, which is one of the libraries that they use for the nodes. And basically there can be some additional optimization on organizing and sorting through the different kinds of calls that are happening, which is either reading or writing, to kind of, optimize the nodes so you get more out of them as well. And yeah, the other thing is right now the fees are kind of pegged higher. They're not coming back down. So this is actually, something when the code was originally written, maybe wasn't put together in the best way, or just needs to be updated for like the current state of the XRP ledger. So the fees are pinned up a little higher right now. And, maybe if you tried your Zum wallet today, you've been able to send stuff through. It's because they raised the threshold for the fees that you can send through on the app. And so with that, basically, like in the old days when they used to have ledgers that would close with 0 transactions, it would bring the median fee down over time. However, now the XRP ledger is seeing so much use that the fee is not coming down quickly, because everybody, it's being used around the world like 24/7, and people are constantly putting in new transactions. And there's never a ledger that closes with 0 transactions at this point. So that's kind of, the general gist. Some people on Twitter, maybe, were facing a lot of pressure and stuff, maybe hyperbolic. I don't want to get into all those aspects. But the thing is, it's working fine, and it worked as it was written. It's not like it just broke out of nowhere. Maybe, I've seen stuff around Ripple with their S1 and S2 full history nodes. I know they're not production grade, but it looks like, some of the devs in the community would like them to kind of up their game with some of that stuff. So yeah, I'll let you hop in, Mickey. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I just want to ask regarding the scalability of the XRP ledger. And I think that's something that, somebody just made a comment over here. Prashan made a comment about, we take pride in the community that the XRP ledger is scalable. Now, is this really boiling down to the scalability of the ledger, or is this more a fact that we just need a couple more full history nodes that are able to be configured in the right way, so that when that many transactions or that many calls go to the nodes, that it raises the fees? And when we're talking about fees here, we're talking about they're set at 10 drops. I think that's like 1,000th of an XRP or 10,000th of an XRP. So we're talking so low as it is. It just really needs to be configured, these full history nodes. So the actual scalability issue at hand here. Is that correct?
Could you repeat that last part?
Like the actual scalability of the ledger. That's one thing we take pride in. Is this a scalability issue, or is this another type of issue?
No, so my understanding is it's mainly from the load that was placed on a few nodes, and it caused them to raise their fees. And, the way the XRP Ledger's consensus works is everything is broadcast throughout all the different nodes and validators within the network. So when those fees got hired, they were broadcast everywhere. But, it doesn't necessarily mean that it can't scale. It was just people were trying to send through transactions that didn't have a high enough fee to actually be put through. It's not like Ethereum where the fees are going to cost $100. Maybe they're not 10 drops or 12 drops forever anymore. That was always insanely low. So we'll have to see how that goes. But it's not really a scale issue. Basically, the XRP ledger thought it was getting spammed, and it went into protection mode. It rose the fees to make, spam attacks more costly to run. And, nobody lost funds or any of that stuff. It wouldn't affect RippleNet or ODL. Anybody that has to rely on the XRP ledger to send payments in a, split second, they're going to understand that you can just raise the fee that you're paying and get your transaction through immediately. I think it's more just, working on some source code, probably revisiting how the fee escalation and de-escalation code works as well. And to me, it's not something I'm like that worried about. I think we hit an edge case that people were, originally who would have thought all these trust lines would happen like this. I certainly didn't. I knew it was part of it, but I didn't think we're just going to have this kind of growth or whatever, or use for them. And I'm not saying the use is, to me, I haven't really done many of the trust lines, like maybe a couple for projects I think are good. It's just I don't have time to sit there and do that. Nor do I want to pay attention to like every random thing and maybe make some money off a meme token. But I also don't think people should be prohibited from doing that. I think it's just like, you build something and a lot of different people are going to interact on it, and they're going to use it in the way that they want to. So you got to make it, work for all that stuff.
Exactly. So this is another thing here is, does this affect ODL and the transactions that say RippleNet is running through? And the answer is no, because those are all enterprise setup nodes on RippleNet, and they're able to just raise the fees, and they didn't deal with any of these issues that say the retail had to deal with the other day. I just used them. I didn't have a problem. It went right through. And like we were talking about earlier, they did allow it to raise some of the fees. Now, when we say raise fees, it's such a minimal amount here. So what are other solutions that really need to be done for the ledger? I know Open Collective came out this morning with a tweet and said there's different ways to run more full history nodes. And I know the thing with the full history nodes is it's a lot of data to store, right? So that costs a little more money for individuals to be able to run. But they did put out a tweet, right? It was Open Collective to say, because I know the community wants to be able to help to support this. And we're going to get into that next about the decentralization.
Yeah, I mean, I know. So like, I donated to XRPL Labs earlier today. They're trying to raise money so they can stand up. Whatever they have some thresholds. One's to put up at least one like normal node and then a full history node. Then they have like 2 and 2, 3 and 3, 4 and 4 if they can get that level. Zum doesn't make any money off of me personally, and there's something that I'd like to stay around. So I decided to send them over some money to help them do that. I don't have any worries that the funds are not going to be used for what they want. So, that's an option if you want to help monetarily in that way, even if it's like $10. I think that's totally fine. If you want to, you can ask projects that you're going to be a part of to at least run their own nodes. They don't have to be like the highest grade nodes if they're not required. But you can ask them that, or if you don't care, then you don't care, and that's fine. I mean, everybody's going to have different opinion on it. There's going to be some changes to the source code just to help out with the load and managing it and making sure everything's running in the most optimized way. You see the term tech debt be thrown around on Twitter, and that just essentially means you're kind of patching over fixes rather than addressing the root issue. And one day the root issue has to be addressed, and we're kind of there yet, I feel, or we're there now, is kind of how I see it.
Yeah, and then so this is another interesting I want to turn this conversation into, is that yesterday DAI posted a great video with John Deaton and talked about how the XRP ledger, this kind of proves the decentralization of the ledger, because we have this whole community out there trying to rectify a problem on the ledger that came along that was unique. Now, Ripple helped build the ledger, but this was isn't one of the intended necessarily case. And the community jumped, together, XRP Labs, other projects, community members in general. Ripple didn't just step in and say, hey, we're here to come and fix everything. So I think this is a great point to show how, the ledger itself as a community and an ecosystem is sufficiently decentralized. It's proof that you don't need the efforts of just one entity to support the ledger. And it's an effort of the whole community. And there's only so many things that we could do as retail investors to support it. But a lot of these projects that are airdropping all these tokens, they should be running infrastructure too and helping to support the ledger, since there is no incentive to run a node. Now, nodes are different than validators here with the ledger, and they are different things. Even though a validator can be and is still a node, those are separate. So when you run nodes, that's basically something that anyone technically is free to do. And that's important to the decentralization aspect of a network. Just the fact that you, Patty, any of us can spin up a node on the XRP ledger. There's like 900 and something nodes. Now, are we able to access all those nodes or send transactions into them? No, not necessarily. So the big enterprise nodes that the XRP Ledger Foundation were running just kind of got overwhelmed. So what is kind of a solution here for that, Patty? Do they need to run more basically public, big, full history nodes to handle this in the future, and in combination with allowing the fees to be raised on those front end UIs, right?
Yeah, so I mean, they weren't XRP Ledger Foundation nodes. Ripple has 2 public full history nodes, and
Gotcha.
they're denominated S1 and S2. And then also, Zum and XRPL Labs run something called the XRPL cluster. What that does is it actually routes transactions to the best node. However, with this insane growth in trust lines and as far as using the DEX through Zum and also through Sologenic DEX, everything was being routed through those three specific nodes, and they got overloaded. So there's some ways to retool the source code for running nodes that can make them more efficient. Also, we need more projects need to be running their own infrastructure. I mean, I already saw Vagabond, Aesthetes, and then also Trustline, the company, all said they're going to either be running a node validator or full history node. So, I mean, 3 right off the bat are working on that to help out as well. The Ripple S1 and S2 nodes are not necessarily supposed to be used for production. So, that's another thing too, is like maybe your favorite like UI for the DEX shouldn't be using those nodes as well.
Yeah, so I just want to address something here. So some people will say, oh, this is all smoke and mirrors. This is Ripple integrating all the banks into the XRP ledger.
No, it's
Once
not.
again, this is typical conspiracy speculation based on nothing. I'm going to continue to address this. Like, just making comments like that, they're not based on any fact. The data doesn't lie. Patty's showing you the data. See it all right there? This is all because the airdrops and everything that's coming in spamming the network. This is not some big conspiracy where they're all implementing the XRP ledger right now. I'm sorry, it's not. So anyone wants to spin a narrative like that, free to. You could do your own conspiracy in your own videos. That's fine. But here we try to do the videos that are based on facts. And facts show, look at the data right there and how many different trust lines have been integrated. How many different XRP Ledger accounts have been created per day? It's hundreds of thousands. And having an XRP price higher wouldn't have zero impact on this, number one. So that's another thing I kept seeing on Twitter. If the price was higher, would this have any impact, Patty? No.
No. I mean, it's literally... It's basically some nodes got overloaded and the fees rose on them. That got broadcast to the rest of the network. All the UIs were not set to have variable fees. They hard coded in what the fee was, and so nobody was able to transact through the UI. It doesn't have to do with the underlying XRP ledger why you couldn't specifically transact. If you rose the fee like I did myself yesterday, you would have been able to send stuff through. Now the wallets have adjusted. XRP Toolkit did have adjustable transaction fees for sending, assets on the XRP ledger. However, they didn't have it for trust lines. So, yesterday I couldn't set a trust line through XRP Toolkit. They fixed that today. They added, adjustable fees so you can get stuff through if you're willing to pay whatever the going rate for that is. So I don't really know what the point is of what they're doing. So
do you think this, I think this could be considered kind of growing pains for the ledger. I think
it
that's
is.
a good word.
I think that's fair.
Yeah. That's come up. And the ledger is a decentralized network. See, this is a perfect example to show how it's not controlled by just Ripple. It's never going to be controlled by our government. They're never going to be able to regulate the actual XRP ledger itself. Look at right now, for example, we're in the middle of an SEC case. I could sit there and go on my Zum wallet and just trade right on the XRP ledger. You could swap XRP for Solo. You could do that. So the ledger is always going to be a decentralized public network. And I think as a community, we kind of have to just accept that. And there's not always some secret conspiracy going on in the background. The data doesn't lie of what's going on. We all know this is taking place. All right, so let's move on past that, Patty. Go ahead.
I just want to touch on some of the data. Yeah, just because I think it'll help people in the future. So you can see right here, this is people that are using the trust set function, and this sets trust lines. So this is like the highest period the XRPL ever had in trust line setting previously. And you can see starting in August, which I guess kind of lines up when these started getting more popular, we've been steadily rising. And then we had explosive growth here in trust lines being set. Now, it's not just that trust lines were set that caused issues. It was all of the information that needed to be digested from what's it called? From like the XRP ledger and querying it, nonstop and from the same few nodes. So like that's what played into it. So you can see how much those increased at this point. And then additionally, you could come here. This is xrpscan.com metrics. It'll show you aggregate and all that kind of stuff. So this is a good place to check on that. Additionally, we have livenet.xrpl.org. Just realize, like, if you're looking at stuff and maybe information is missing as well, and this is something I picked up from XRP Dev's YouTube video. He was covering this today, and he's just saying, like, look, it's a UI that's that's reading data from the network. So the UI could be messed up and not showing data appropriately. Your internet connection could be bad and it could just not be showing up. It doesn't mean that things are broken.
So let's compare. This is a good question here. Could this problem ever occur with Flare and the Songbird network? So just before you get into it, they're different in the way that there's smart contracts on the Songbird networks and Flare. So they run computation, just like the Ethereum network. The XRP Ledger does not have smart contract computation like that. So there is a difference in how they would operate. So that's why gas is paid in the Flare network instead of just transaction fees. So do you want to get into that a little? How it would be different?
Yeah, I mean,
is it possible? Like I say, I guess they're asking if we had a bunch of different airdrops, but there isn't trust lines with the Songbird and Flare network. So you don't set up trust lines in that way. But what if there were a lot of airdrops? I mean, we've seen this on Tron. We've seen this on Ethereum and other networks. Could it be a problem on Songbird or Flare?
I mean, sure, anything could. I don't know about this specific issue. We'll have to see. It's just like any network, it can get overloaded. Solana's like halted multiple times this year, and it's still one of the top performing layer 1 assets out there. So, I mean, this isn't uncommon, and a lot of different blockchains have had problems. And they figure out how to evolve and move past it. If blockchains didn't still have problems, then maybe there wouldn't be ROI to earn money on these cryptos, because a lot of this stuff is still theoretical. When you see XYZ blockchain can do 20,000 transactions per second, well, you don't actually know that until it actually happens and it's sustained for a period of time. So, a lot of the stuff we're into, it's new. People are still trying to figure out the best ways to do it. And yes, there's going to be pain points and issues that come up. I mean, that's just kind of part of it, I would say.
Yep, absolutely agree on that. So regarding the trust lines, so there's a question here. Trust lines are way cheap, ready to ramp up the price. So we actually just lowered the price that it costs to open a trust line. I think it went down from 5 to 2. The question that I heard talked about in the Twitter spaces, there was a Twitter space with Matt Hamilton and We'd Say Win the other night. I think it was Wednesday night. And they discussed a possibility. Now, that's not saying they're going to do this, but it was somebody suggested that to close a trust line right now, it's free. Like you get back your 2 XRP when you close a trust line. Now, if they added a feature that said, okay, you lose half an XRP, right? Every time you close a trust line, would that limit the amount of trust lines then that are potentially out there? And I think this is just a discussion the community needs to have over the next, going forward. What is the best resolution for going forward of how the ledger is going to be used? Because when it was designed 8-9 years ago, they thought it was just going to be for payments. Now we see it's going to be NFTs, it's going to be tokenization, it's going to be all different types of things moving forward, and not just for payments. So I think the sidechains will help with a lot of the load that will be put on sidechain won't affect the main ledger. So that's something that will be helpful too. Those are going to be able to be implemented without an amendment. So we'll probably start seeing those pop up, I would think, in January, Patty, right? I think we'll start seeing the federated sidechains. And I know RippleX is building an EVM one, and you're going to start to see many others out there. But I think overall, I want to get to here, I think it's just good for the community that everyone is engaging now with the XRP Ledger, right? We're paying attention to it. Most people now have a Zum wallet. They're not just like hodling on a ledger for 10 years and hoping the price is going to go to $100. This is now what a community is meant to do. They're supposed to engage with the actual network because the community-driven network and the asset is meant to be used as a utility and not really as a stock that you're just holding to ride the coattails of Ripple. Yes, Ripple has a huge use case for XRP with ODL, and that's going to be massive. What they're building with the liquidity hub, I think, is going to have a huge impact on the value of XRP long term. But at the same time, any project basically is going to be able to build on the XRP ledger. Anyone is going to be able to interact with the XRP ledger. Nobody can stop anyone from doing that. So it kind of proves the decentralization, and it's good to see the community engagement here and just having the discussion about this. But ignoring the data is also not a good thing, because the data, is the data. This is why public blockchains are public, so we can kind of see everything right there.
Yeah,
And they're blaming trust line creators.
So for me, trust lines have like a legit use case that they were meant for. So, one of the things about the XRP ledger is like it's a debit and credit system. So allowing people to issue their own tokens in cheaply, I think is really important. We're moving into a world where things are moving more online. You have more people that kind of do some of the stuff we do with content creation, or maybe you may have somebody that operates in a small town and they would like to issue a token cheaply that's not that expensive, and maybe people could price their goods and services based on this token. If they have really high demand, then the price for them goes up based on that token moving around. So I would be really against raising the barrier to entry. That kind of, to me, defeats the purpose of what public blockchains are about. Like, we're supposed to be making it easier for people, especially those like around the world that don't have the money to get into banking and stuff like that. So, sometimes I feel like we look at it from an American view. It's like, oh, if you make it 10 XRP, maybe it's, it deters people that are using bots and stuff like that. But this is kind of, the nature of this stuff. Like, this stuff happens on Ethereum and it doesn't prevent people from using Ethereum. Just some adjustments need to be made on, the XRP ledger's end and the infrastructure and the applications using it. And, I think we'll be good to go moving forward. So I'd always want to caution against doing stuff. There are fees to open and close trust lines. It's a transaction fee, just like you have a transaction fee for sending stuff. Setting a trust line is a transaction. So I don't know if like that's the best way to do it. I think we just have to accept that there's a lot of different people that interact with these blockchains, and they're going to use it in the way they want. If we start becoming and trying to decide, oh, you're allowed to do XYZ, I think that kind of kills a lot of what is great about, all these different permissionless blockchains.
Yeah, no, permissionless. I mean, the XRP ledger is permissionless in the sense that anyone can actually use it and interact with it and run a node. Now, it's permissioned in the sense that the validators who validate the network are permissioned. So that's one thing that is unique about like Stellar and about the XRP ledger. That also leaves certain other abilities. And I think these side chains are going to really open up the participation for everyone in the ledger, because now you're going to be able to have a sidechain that has a private CBDC. So like what they're building in Pearl with that US dollar. Now, they didn't really say if that was on a sidechain, right, Patty? Let's talk about that for a second, because I love Darren Moore's video that he did the other day. That was excellent, how he showed that the country of Pearl, or however you actually say it, I might be butchering that.
I think it's Powwow. Yeah.
Powwow. Powwow. Okay.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think
uses the US dollar, right? So
yeah.
Wouldn't it make sense for just kind of Ripple to create a US dollar that's not like USDC, where it's backed by bank deposits, but it's actually like a legit US dollar stablecoin on the XRP ledger and on sidechains that could be used for many countries, not just Palau, but other ones too? I mean, how are they able to get into a US like territory? We have our own military bases on that country. It's kind of like U.S. wall guarded, and then at the same time, Ripple's in the middle of this SEC lawsuit. So it's really interesting how that's all developing right now. I thought it was fascinating. His video was very good. Definitely check it out. I thought Darren's video was excellent.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's very interesting with all the politics, but to me, I mean, it seems like they're going to be issuing that on the XRP Ledger's mainnet. So, to me, it doesn't seem like a sidechain project. What was the other one? Bhutan? That maybe seemed more like something that would be, something that could be on a side chain. But I think it'll be interesting to see, especially if they're going to be backing, a stable coin on the XRP ledger pegged to the US dollar with their own, commercial paper or fiat, or however they're going to go about that. I think there's still some open-endedness to what they're going to eventually do, but it'll be interesting to find out.
Yeah, I always found it interesting that the XRP Ledger or Ripple or anybody who is a partner on RippleNet hasn't integrated, say, USDC, right? Stellar's done it, Solana's done it. Every blockchain has it. And the XRP Ledger has XRP. Doesn't mean that a stable coin would take away from XRP. We need those as kind of the on and off ramps. And Ripple has talked about this going forward. So these on and off ramps for stable coins, we have things called IOUs. Can they create one like legit US dollar IOU, right? Or you call it, where everyone sets up a trust line and they would have to say then KYC AML to that actual issuer. Say it's the Federal Reserve, right? Who issues those dollars. That can be done on the ledger and then taken off to a sidechain. And then transactions could be done privately where nobody could see them, but we could actually see how many dollars were issued. So it's interesting dynamic what these sidechains are going to bring. There's the issuing on the mainnet or the issuing on a sidechain, and it actually could be on both. So it's just something exciting. I think that the ledger allows. You got a little update here on the blog.
Well, yeah, I just wanted to point out. So Ripple X issued this like 2 days ago. Yeah, December 1st. So they have some actions they're taking towards the solution, which happens to do with Rippled library and XRPL.js, which is what the nodes use. So they have some changes that will dramatically reduce the memory usage for servers. That'll help. They're trying to make it easier to run Rippled in reporting mode, which is basically what lets you, query that node without putting too much load on it. Additionally, there's this new project that someone's created that was at Apex, and I think they did a presentation there called Project Clio. So that's designed to efficiently service RPC and WebSocket client requests. This is people pinging, querying nodes, trying to, deliver information or take it. So, there's stuff being worked on. And to me, I think a bunch of people just learned a lot about the XRP ledger, and maybe some things that hadn't been dealt with in a while are going to get updated. So, to me, this isn't all bad.
Yeah, no, this is what I think the beauty of the community is. And think of what we'd say win. I mean, we have to give praise to what he created here with Zum. And he gets hit with the brunt of the community because why? They're the front end user interface, right? Mm-hmm. Everyone goes through Zum. They're the UI that people use and interact with. But behind that is all the infrastructure. So this company, XRP Labs, they build XRP Labs, but they don't, Zum Wallet, they don't make any money off of the actual Zum wallet itself. It's a non-custodial product that we can all interact with. In the future, I think other products will be built off or spun off with that, where they'll be able to create a business from it, fiat on and off ramps. But for right now, the Zum wallet is just, something you could interact with. It's just like anything else. It's an access point to the XRP ledger for anybody to use. Now, that's a retail one, right? But exchanges have custodial versions. RippleNet has enterprise grade specific versions built for their ODL that are, at a much higher level, higher quality than anything we're experiencing here. So there are different levels, even though it's the same ledger, the whole user interface, depending of what its use case is. Just like the Liquidity Hub, it's going to have a network of different XRP accounts, basically, which are different wallets. How that's going to be set up, I'm interested to see in the future. But I guess the first thing is, here's a good question. We need nodes that pay out in a sidechain that has a DAO built into it, that has PAX-G and solid assets in it. That all support XRPL growth. I do think the idea of having a DAO on a sidechain is a great idea. I don't know how much the nodes on that side chain would necessarily help the mainnet, but somebody brought that up in the Twitter spaces, and I think we will see things like that, DAOs on the different side chains. I think that's a great idea, and that's what's so great about the XRP Ledger is you're not just going to have this only the mainnet now. Now you can have a side chain that has a unique use case just for a DAO. Now something like, say, strong block nodes, would that help the XRP Ledger, Patty? Have there been any other ideas that you've seen that have actually helped potentially the community could do to help the XRP ledger with the nodes?
I don't know about
Or
going into
projects?
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't really think so. I think it's just going to be as more projects come on, they're going to have an interest in running their own infrastructure so that their projects are working all the time and they're not overloading, infrastructure that they didn't put up. Additionally, we have XRPL Labs is doing a funding round to get more up, and they're going to work on the source code. So I don't know if we need something like that. I mean, I would hope that if somebody did build a project like that, it'd be on the XRP ledger and native to that. So, I mean, we'll just have to see. Maybe it is needed. I just don't know right now. I mean, I think all the, devs and infrastructure providers and stuff are still looking into all this and trying to find, the best path forward.
All right, question for you, Patty. What are the odds that Ripple starts building on Flare instead of the XRPL, and then they just mint their escrow as FXRP?
Well,
Very
so
interesting.
yeah, I mean, FXRP is pegged to the price of XRP. So if Ripple was trying to offload all of that onto another network, I imagine it would probably crash the price of XRP. And if they stop building on the XRPL, I mean, and decide they're only going to do stuff on Flare, I can't imagine that would be a good idea.
I,
Um,
well, I'm
well,
going to
they
throw
can
back
build
at
on
you here.
Flare. I think they might build on Flare. I don't, I'm not saying they won't. I'm saying if they like abandon the XRPL, which is how I read that question.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, this is an interesting question because, yeah, I'll do my little answer to the second part. So I don't think that they're going to abandon the XRP ledger since they have so much XRP to build on Flare. But I do think, like you said there, Ripple X, invested in Flare. So creating that sidechain for the EVM and connecting that possibly to Flare. Also, the idea of this minting FXRP is interesting because you can take the XRP, put it in, say, Probity DAO, and mint FXRP without affecting the price on the secondary market. Now, I don't think they would take billions of XRP and do that, but technically, drone vacations, it is possible to do that. We've talked about that, of how if they get full clarity with XRP, there's no stopping them from doing anything with their XRP on other networks. And that would go, say you minted FXRP, then put it in Probity DAO Vault, and then you minted a stablecoin backed by FXRP and brought it back to the XRP ledger to use a decentralized currency that's pegged to the dollar, and it's actually backed by XRP. So those things are possible. I don't think the odds of them abandoning the ledger, I think they're slim to none at this point. But I do think it's possible they will build on Flare with Ripple X. So think about it. Trustline, the company, is helping build the Solaris bridge, which is going to connect basically the Probity DAO to the XRP ledger. And that's going to allow assets to freely move from Flare to the XRP ledger. So that means Spark, any asset that's on Flare is going to be able to move freely over to the XRP ledger. And that's what the state connector system allows. So XRP has a two-way bridge with Flare, where Litecoin, Doge, XLM, they have only one-way bridges. The XRP ledger and Flare have a two-way bridge. So that is one thing that is unique about the relationship between Flare and the XRP ledger. That also goes for Songbird too. So very interesting there. Any thoughts, Patty?
Sorry, I had myself muted. No, I don't have anything to add there. Do you want to kind of move into XFi?
Yes. Oh, we got some questions earlier about that.
Oh, can I just address one thing in the chat? So
Yeah.
yeah, if people spam in the chat, especially stuff that if we talk about, we're gonna get banned off YouTube, then we're just not gonna have that. So that's why that one user was blocked for people that are asking. Also, it's disrespectful to everybody else in the chat that's trying to ask questions if you're spamming. So thank you. All right. Go ahead, Mickey. You're muted if you're talking.
Yeah, no, I lost you for a second there. What'd you say?
Okay.
Battery fell out of the computer. I had to recharge. Go ahead. What'd you say?
Oh, I was just saying people were asking about because I removed somebody from the chat for spamming. Yeah.
Spam. It's hard to judge what we just want to go based on the facts, the best that we can on the data, and not get into much of a conspiracy thing. And I think sometimes, speculating is healthy, but when it's based on like a grounded foundation of some type of facts. But when you speculate just to speculate and build a narrative that turns into conspiracy, that could be unhealthy for everybody. And then it gets people looking in the wrong direction. So, YouTube channel can't be fully decentralized like blockchains.
I mean,
See
yeah,
people
it's
sometimes
our
saying that,
channel.
we're trying our best, and the moderators are doing their best to control the conversation in here. We have 257 people right now. Do the best we can. Oh, here's a good question, Patty. Do you believe the federated sidechains would help with the trust line issues? We kind of just touched on that, but you could throw your thoughts, and then we'll go to XFi.
It's not like if you make a anyway. Okay, so first off, federated sidechains are not going to be as decentralized as the XRP Ledger, so that's kind of one thing. It's a multi-sig account that lets assets in and out. That's not. I wouldn't say that's completely trustless. Also, just because you make a sidechain that allows trust lines doesn't mean that people are all of a sudden going to want to go and do all their trust lines on the sidechain. To me, I feel like we're not just going to see like a bunch of random tokens that have X in front of it and are knockoffs of other things that have happened in other blockchains. Whether it's like X Safe Moon or whatever. Also, like I don't know. I've seen like X SEC and X Trump or X Biden or whatever. Like, I mean, I don't think that stuff's going to happen forever. I can't imagine people would want to play with that for like their entire life. So eventually I think it's just kind of die off. The facts are we've been in a SEC case for over a year. I'm sure a lot of people are bogged down by that, including myself. Like it's a long time to be under that kind of uncertainty. So, I mean, the trust line stuff has been great. I mean, it's allowed people to make some money while XRP has been static. It's allowed them to learn more about the ledger. It's helped them learn more on how to interact with it. So I think overall, like this whole stuff that happened is going to be really beneficial to the community in the long run. I just don't think we're going to see like what we've seen over the past couple of months forever. I think it'll like slowly die off, or maybe quickly now. We'll see.
Yeah, good answer. So this is a good, interesting question. Do you know any huge competitors to the Ripple Liquidity Hub? Have you heard of Icon? Yes, I've heard of Icon. Orion is another one. A lot of these that I've seen are trying to connect decentralized exchanges liquidity to each other, right? I haven't seen, and I haven't looked too deep into Icon, but trying to connect centralized exchange liquidity to each other is a massive undertaking. Now, that's something that, Ripple already has the network of exchanges, right? So you don't see them announce every other month, a new partner for ODL as an exchange. There's a reason why they're not announcing these exchanges all as partners, because they really don't need them all as partners when you could kind of create just a network of them. So what they're creating is a distributed centralized exchange, right? All these centralized exchanges, they're creating a distributed network of centralized exchanges. Eventually, I think they'll tap in then to the XRP Ledger's DEX and what other type of DeFi that uses wrapped XRP, wrapped Bitcoin, other types of assets. But I think they're starting in a different place than a lot of these other, say, DeFi liquidity hubs, which are starting basically on-chain and then trying to tap into the off-chain centralized exchanges. So there will be competitors. I just think that Ripple has this unique advantage because they're so much older, basically, right? They've had these relationships with Bitstamp, with Coinbase, with Huobi, whoever the exchange is. SBI owns multiple exchanges in Southeast Asia and Korea, South Korea. So having that and that network being developed for years gives them this advantage that a lot of these startup cryptos and DeFi liquidity hubs are never going to be able to match. But that doesn't mean they won't be successful. I just think they're coming top down, and a lot of the other ones are starting bottom up. What do you think on it, Patty?
Did you mention Credo as an example? I was listening and don't know if you.
Credo is a unique. Yeah, if you want to go into.
I
Credo,
mean, they have a liquidity
very
hub.
unique.
Yeah. So I mean, they're building, and what we imagine when we did that video on Liquidity Hub is that this is something that operates in layer 2. above the blockchains and is like an aggregation layer. That's what Credo is doing. That's going to be a decentralized layer 2 protocol that's running above many different blockchains. They have partnerships with many big exchanges, with CeFi providers, Nexos, Celsius, Coinbase, that those kind of people. I think Wintermute's one, Deribit. So a lot of different people in the space, and they're basically going to allow you to tap into all these different exchanges without having to take your assets to the exchanges. There's no pre-funding with that. So you could use like a decentralized wallet to interact with them. So, going back to that question, I think that's another thing that is doing something similar to what Liquidity Hub is. And I mean, honestly, when we first saw Credo, we immediately thought like, oh, this is kind of like PolySign, so just a permissionless version.
Yeah, it is interesting to see how they fit in the mix, because there's a lot of overlapping investors with Credo and Flare, the team. So there's no official partnership there or anything. It's just something we kind of speculated that, there could be a connection there in the future. We don't know. But you know what? Let's dive into XFi right now. Look at this stat. We're almost at 50 million total value locked for our Canary network, Songbird, and its DApp, XFi. Pretty exciting.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think it's pretty solid. It launched, when Songbird was trading around 35 cents. So, I think it's at 50 cents today, roughly, when I checked. So, the underlying, the main asset that's being used here has been increasing in price, which is always going to help with TVL. If you go and look at how Avalanche and Solana's TVL has moved up, it, pretty much coincides with large movements up in the price as well. So, I mean, that's something, I imagine SGB keeps trading up until the snapshot, probably have a sell-off start before the snapshot happens. At least that's how it worked with the XRP leading into the Spark snapshot. So we'll see where it, lands out after that. But I'm pretty happy. I mean, I've been able to do everything. Sure, there's a little, a couple of quirky things in the UI that you have to work around. And once you figure that out, I mean, everything's pretty easy. I just track my position once a day when I wake up and kind of see what's going on. So I've been playing around, and I took out a loan and used that to swap half into Songbird and get into the Flare X liquidity pool there. And then I'm staking my LP tokens from that on Flare Farm to earn DFLR. And then when I get the DFLR, I put in DFLR staking to earn Canary dollars and Songbird, which are paid out in fees on the Flare Loans protocol. So this is very beginning of what they're doing. There's going to be a lot more. As far as with this XFi snapshot coming up, so this is, pretty important for everybody. That's going to be on December 12th, and I believe the time is 6 p.m. UTC. I think it's 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for us. So at that time, they'll take a snapshot of whatever the block that's closing during that time, and they'll see all the account balances. And over the next day or two, they'll deliver the XFi tokens. It's important to note, unless they've already worked out with an exchange that that exchange will accept the airdrop and deliver it, they will be excluding any exchanges that haven't delivered Spark to their users for this airdrop. So that's about 9 days until that happens. I'm hoping, we've seen from Fireblocks, that they made a tweet that's very clearly the Songbird logo and that it's coming. And it seems like next week they'll have support for that. We know a lot of different exchanges use Fireblocks for different components. So hopefully, that brings some good news to people still stuck on an exchange. But also the last part of this to add, if you have Songbird in any smart contracts on XFi, so that's whether it's locked as collateral or it's in the liquidity pool, then those Songbird are going to be eligible for the airdrop as well. So you don't have to remove them if you don't want to.
All right, let's answer DJ's question here. He's getting impatient. Mickey and Patty, why do you guys ignore my collateral liquidity question? This is a big problem if the exchanges suddenly release 4 times the total supply of SGB all at once. Well,
they don't have that much, first of all.
They don't have 4 times that much at all, first. Right now, Uphold, who is a big exchange with a lot of users, just released some. I'm trying to look for his other part of his question. I don't see.
I don't understand what is he just asking?
Do you guys think that if the exchanges release all the SGB and people dump on the market, that will cause a massive collateral liquidation event by dropping SGB price rapidly. So basically saying, if say Coinbase and some other big exchanges released the SGB that people are owed, would that cause a collateral liquidity event on, say, XFi? That's, I believe what you're getting at, DJ, right?
Yeah, I mean, it could if the price drops enough and people don't handle their collateral well enough to keep their loans over collateralized. I mean, mine's over 200% right now, so I'm not particularly worried about that happening to me. Certainly, if you have your loan at 120, 130%, you could easily get liquidated on a whim just any day with how volatile the crypto markets are. So, I mean, I don't know, like, if I'm not worried about it on a personal level, and I think the system is set up in a good way that if a bunch of people get liquidated at once, that it's going to survive. It's basically a fork of Liquidity protocol, so you guys can check that out and see how that's performed over time. So to me, it's just a matter of, if you see that these Songbird are going to come out from the exchanges, then maybe you want to either pay back some of your debt before that, or bring in more collateral so you have a higher collateral ratio.
So actually, I think with the snapshot coming up, it's likely that all the other snapshots. Let's look at Sologenic. Let's look at when last year when we had the snapshot for XRP for Spark. Everything usually runs up. Not financial advice, but it tends to run up in anticipation of the snapshot. And we're not aware of that many exchanges that are going to be releasing Songbird anytime soon. I think it's likely we see a lot of the big exchanges release over time. And I think, this is my personal thing, I think many like Coinbase will release when Spark gets launched, and they'll just release it with that. But when Uphold released, that didn't really have much effect on the price. Songbird's release has accidentally emulated the 3% monthly. In a way, it's kind of, in a way, that's a good point there, Zerp Twerp, that it has done that. But is there different ways to be liquidated, Patty, on XFi?
Yep.
Just go over that quickly.
Yeah, this is something we covered in our Flare Loans video on how it works that we put out like last Wednesday, I think, if you want to go look at that a little more. So the one way is if your Nest collateral ratio falls under 110%, then you're probably going to be liquidated on the spot. I imagine people, at least it seems like people already have bots set up to monitor the liquidations page and do it immediately. Additionally, there's something called recovery mode. So recovery mode automatically turns on when the system's total collateral ratio falls below 150%. Its purpose is to incentivize users to behave in ways that bring the total collateral ratio back above 150%. So these are the measures when this happens. Nests with a collateral ratio below the TCR can be liquidated. So if this gets enacted, and your nest is below 150%, you can in fact be liquidated in that scenario. The minimum collateral ratio for opening a new nest is 150%, and the borrow fee is set to 0% because they want to incentivize people to come in and take out loans that are going to raise the total collateral ratio back above basically the set safety level. Additionally, collateral cannot be lowered by Nest during this time, and debt cannot be increased on Nest during that time. There's also something called redemptions. So a redemption is the process of exchanging Canary dollars for Songbird at face value, as if one Canary dollar is exactly worth one USD. So people would want to come in here. This is like, let's say the peg falls and it's at 98 cents. Obviously, you can't buy as much with your Canary dollar as you would like if it was trading at the peg of $1. So what this does is incentivizes people to bring Canary dollars back to the protocol so they can be removed from circulation, and you will get basically Songbird at face value, Songbird equaling $1 for that Canary dollar you brought, which would be a slightly better rate than if you went to the DEX and did it. So when this happens, you're redeeming against people with the lowest collateral ratios in their nests. So in that instance, if you had a nest and let's say it's 120%, somebody does a redemption and let's say, it takes out some of your position, it would lower both your debt position and your collateral. So that happens too if you keep a really low collateral ratio, and that is to help maintain the peg. So those are the three ways that stuff can be adjusted without, you touching anything essentially by the system.
Yeah, so anyone who hasn't seen that video, definitely check out the Flare loans video that we did. That answers a lot more detail regarding getting liquidated and how to manage your position. So right now on XFi, you only have one asset that you're able to use, right? We're only able to use SGB right now, right? That's it. In the future, when this is on Flare and even Songbird Finance in the future, we'll have XFi. And on Flare Network, we'll have all 5 F assets. We'll have Y Flare, we'll have YFin, we'll have all those different wrapped assets brought over. We'll have Gala. I mean, there'll be so many more tokens and so many more assets to be used that you have to look at right now what XFi is and Flare Finance on Songbird is. This is a bare bones, basically, just rollout. It's just a single asset, SGB, and it's creating this canary dollar. But once more assets are added, especially F assets on Flare, because those are going to be premium cryptos, right? Litecoin, Stellar, XRP, Doge, Algo, those are top crypto assets. So they're going to hold a lot of value with them. And adding those to a DeFi ecosystem with 6 different protocols is going to be very powerful for what Flare Finance ultimately does. Right now, we literally have a native token of a canary network. That's all we're using. So this is just understand that it's the bare bones first rollout V2 of this. So really, I would take Flare Finance right now as a test, get familiar with it. If you're not comfortable taking out a collateral loan, you don't have to. Just test being able to swap back and forth. Understand how that works because you're going to be using these features. Understand, hey, this is how you provide liquidity. You don't have to use a lot of money to do that. Even if you didn't receive SGB, you could buy $50 worth of SGB on Bitrue and just test it on the platform. Test it on Bifrost or in Decent, whatever wallet or MetaMask you want to use, just to get familiar with it. And I know a lot of people are still waiting for their airdrops of, Songbird. Flare will be launched once it's fully production ready. So I wouldn't rush that. That's coming. The state connector system is being tested. The one good thing about Flare is that when it launches, you're not going to have to wait for 3 years for them to test smart contracts like Cardano. You're not going to have to wait for this test net and that upgrade and that phase and ETH 2.0. It's going to be all ready to go 100% enterprise grade. So, I mean, honestly, we don't exactly know when it's going to launch. I mean, at this point, they're not going to give out a date. So it could be December, it could be January, it could be February. It's anybody's guess, but at least they're in the process of their next phase is the testing the state connector system. So they gave us the layout. They told us what they're doing, and hopefully we'll be able to test minting of these F assets, if they call them S assets, on Songbird and understand how to do that prior to actually going live on Flare. Just like we're able to delegate to the FTSO, right? Everyone understands how to delegate, how to earn their rewards. Now, they're going to be much higher on Flare because the inflation rate is higher. So it would be nice if we're able to test minting F assets on Songbird, even though you won't earn rewards for it or any yield, but just to be able to do that, I think will be helpful for us as a community to feel comfortable that when Flare goes live, hey, we know how to mint FXRP. We're comfortable using our XRP in this way. So until we see that testing going live on Songbird, I don't think Flare launch is happening until after that, personally. And also some of the partnerships that they came out with, I think are excellent. So partnership with Alliance Block, I think is a huge partnership right there. They're with a anonymous KYC integration. I think it's important because KYC is going to be a part of DeFi. That's coming. And also their liquidity mining as a service. And then their funders platform for investments and other things is really interesting. And also their partnership with Panther, which is going to provide privacy with compliance. And I think that's really something interesting. So you want to talk about Panther for a second, Patty?
Yeah, I mean, aside from, the videos that we've done, we're still waiting for launch. I got an email from them since I'm signed up for that all the people that participate in the public sale are going to be issued essentially like a voting token, and the people that participate in that are going to be able to vote like a DAO to launch the protocol. I imagine it'd be done before the first half of December is over. But
Unfortunately,
once we, oh
Gary
yeah,
kept the U.S. out of
I
damn
would have loved to
Gary.
have got in at those prices, but
Damn Gary.
uh, um,
Sorry.
yeah. So I mean, I'm excited for Panther though, and they're gonna launch on Songbird eventually too, like Mickey's saying. So we'll cover that one definitely on how you can use it and stuff in the future. But right now we're just waiting for them to go live. Mickey, I did want to address this question because I've got it asked a lot on Twitter. And so Ryan was asking, do we know if Canned will be into consideration with XFi or just SGB? So no, Canary Dollars will not. It's only going to be for people that have Songbird or Wrap Songbird. And like we were saying earlier, if that Songbird or Wrap Songbird is in an XFi protocol being utilized, whatever your share of it is in that smart contract at the snapshot time, you will receive XFi for that. I believe the ratio is 235 point something for every 235 Songbird or Wrap Songbird you have, you'll get one XFi. However, that may actually lower, and for less Songbird, you'd get one XFi depending on how many exchanges release the Songbird tokens here over the next week and a half. So we'll have to see how that goes.
Yeah, so it is going to be interesting to see how the price plays out with this run up to XFi. So out of the 4 tokens that are going to be part of the Flare Finance ecosystem, so there's going to be on Flare Network, you're going to have the airdrop of YFlare, which is going to come as DFlare. Then you're going to have YFin, which you're going to have to basically yield farm or liquidity mine for providing liquidity on Flare Finance. That's on the Flare Network. Then on Songbird, you're going to have XFi and SFin. So in total, there's going to be 4 different tokens for the Flare Finance ecosystem. This is just the first one they're releasing. And 2 are going to be in an airdrop. So interesting. I think we'll also see other DeFi platforms launch. And just this participation, like Crypto Siege popped in before and said, just showing that 50 million total value locked for a single token on a Canary network, I think is still pretty impressive by the community. So good job, community.
Cool. Also, just because I'm seeing this,
And
I just want to address. So DJ was saying, thanks, only 2 billion-ish SGB on market right now, roughly 8 billion still locked. I'm not sure where you got those numbers from. So the circulating supply is technically 9.6 billion, which excludes how much the foundation has. Flare, the Flare Limited team has 3.75 billion. And last time I checked, it was around like 3 billion that is like people already have and can use either through exchange distributions or if they did self-custody, so they could already access their Songbird. So around like 6, I guess I'll say, let's say 6 billion. So even if exchanges had 3.6 billion still to give out, that's just slightly half of the current circulating supply. So I just wanted to address that.
No, that was good. See, data is always helpful when you know the accurate data, and helps us make better decisions and investment in the future. Knowing exactly what the supply is, and this is why Flare metrics and public blockchains are great, because you could always see the data for the most part. That doesn't include everything, but so does supplying liquidity in Flare X provide any type of yield, or is it only once in Flare Farm?
Yeah. So first, before anybody ever supplies liquidity to a liquidity pool, especially with any significant amount of money, you really, really, really need to understand the underlying mechanics of what are happening. I will say we have a blog on our website, and we have multiple videos covering this on the channel. If you look in like the Flare Finance playlist and the new to DeFi one. So basically, yes, it does come with more yield than just from Flare Farm. Flare Farm is actually technically bonus. It's like a bonus for this. So let's say I put in Songbird and Canary Dollars into a liquidity pool. That liquidity pool automatically wraps the Songbird. So whatever my share of the Songbird is in the pool when the vote lock happens every week is going to get rewards from delegations. Also, I'm going to be collecting fees in Songbird and Canary dollars. So every time you go to swap on Flare X, you pay a fee in either one of those assets. And so those get auto compounded back into the pool. The other thing is you need to be aware of what impermanent loss is. So if you have, let's say, 100 Songbird, and let's say you swap half into Canary dollars, so it'd be like 25 Canary dollars at a 50-cent price. If the price of Songbird starts moving up, then that position in the liquidity pool is not going to move up as fast as the underlying asset moves up, which is essentially what impermanent loss is measuring. So you would miss out in that scenario unless the fees you're earning or like the DFLR that you're getting from staking your LP tokens on Flare Farm kind of outweighs what you're losing from impermanent loss. Impermanent loss is just an opportunity cost. And if, let's say, you suffer a lot of it on the way up, like let's say 2x's, and you're like, all right, I actually would be losing a lot of Songbird here. If it starts coming back down, then that impermanent loss also lessens as well. So this is, this is like a long topic, I guess what I'm getting at. So I would check for anybody that doesn't understand how that works. I would definitely check out that stuff either on our website or on the YouTube channel. There's tons of other people that have done videos on this too outside of us. So, if you find the way we explain it not to be great, I would, check out those resources as well. I know like Binance has Binance Academy. It honestly is really good for DeFi stuff as well. You can check out. So I would just say, like, if you go in there and you don't understand what's going to happen and the price moves up a lot, you're going to be like, where's my money at? So just make sure you understand what the mechanics are there.
All right, I'm going to answer, and let's address one more question here, because this is always an interesting one, then we'll wrap it up. All right, so I'm going to take this one, Patty. Any chance the Flare launch is being delayed due to the SEC? It's one of the largest airdrops in history. There's no way the SEC is just ignoring it. So I'm going to work my way backwards here. There's definitely no way the SEC is ignoring it, but there's absolutely really nothing the SEC could do about it, because there's no investment of any funds. So nobody invested into Flare. Nobody put up assets. The company Flare has not taken anyone's funds. They're just airdropping something out there for free. They're also based in the UK. And there's really no way to stop a free airdrop. These airdrops happen all the time. I mean, Upholds in the US, they already distributed out. So I don't think really Flare they've already said it multiple times. The delay is not due to the SEC. They're launching, basically, they haven't raised any funds. So there's nothing really the SEC could do for doing an airdrop of just a free token. So there's really no case there, and I don't think it has anything to do with it. I think it really comes down to this project got bigger and larger than they expected. One, with more community engagement and with more VC funding, the whole F-asset system. That state connector, that's really what is causing the big delay here. Just so everyone knows what's at the heart of them launching the Canary Network Songbird and then delaying this is getting the state connector tested. They're literally migrating 5 different blockchains together onto the Flare network, and they have to get them in sync with Songbird and then spin up a parallel network and allow these assets to move over to Flare. But it's not just moving the assets, it's signaling back all the data from each one of those blockchains to the Flare network and having that in sync and being verified. This is something, it's like a breakthrough technology in the way they're designing this. So it's not something that's been done before. So even though they've been doing it for 3 years, it takes a long time. It has nothing really to do with the SEC. I don't think the actual distribution of Spark has anything to do with the SEC in any way, because nobody has invested any capital. So what are you going to go after Flare for doing? I mean, and they're not even in the US. No US investor put up any funds or investment to get their Spark. All you had to do is hold XRP. And I know you could also say, well, if XRP is a digital security and now you're receiving Spark on that, well, that hasn't been determined by the courts yet. So most of the country, most of the is outside the United States anyway. So I don't really see how it's an issue with the SEC. I mean, Flare has literally come out and said it has nothing to do with the SEC. But I mean, I understand where you're coming from with that. I just don't think it's a factor. It is a factor, though, I think, in participation. So if the SEC case is cleared up, right, and we get clarity on XRP, and then Flare launches, I think it will have a bigger impact on the adoption of, say, FXRP, right? XRP's price is going to explode in value. It's going to get more attention from the crypto media, from the crypto communities. So I think it has an effect, just not a direct effect. So I think the closure of that SEC case with Ripple and the clarity for XRP will help Flare substantially. I just don't think they're directly, impacted. That's just my thoughts, on that. What do you think?
I agree. I agree with everything you said. I think the big thing is Flare has gotten so huge, and also they said they have made, like, later in the game, they figured out some better ways to do what they were doing and realized that they need a lot of testing with as big as like they are and how many eyes are on them. If they fail out the gate, they're going to fail huge rather than maybe a smaller project that could fail in a small way out the gate, and people would never even realize that happened. So I think that's also a driving factor in it. I do want to add on here for Crypto Fitter. So he's asking if XFi is on the Songbird Explorer and if he needs to add it to his Bifrost wallet to receive that token. So I don't think it is. I haven't seen it there yet. You actually don't have to add like the token address to receive it. That's just something you have to do to like see it in your wallet UI, but it will go to your address on the blockchain. So that's something you can do after the fact when they say it's been airdropped. If you still need to add that contract address, if Bifrost or, whoever you're using didn't like automatically add it for you, then that's when you would do it. It's not like a prerequisite to receive the airdrop. You just have to have your tokens somewhere that allows you to receive the airdrop, essentially, which would be not in exchange. Also, yeah, Mickey, one other thing before I forget that I wanted to touch on is right now. So, most people, if you've been in XFi for over the past week, your Songbird have been wrapped. They've been delegating to AFTSO and DeFi Oracle split 50-50. So with that, obviously we can't see what's going on with that right now in the UI. The team is working on updating the UI, and based on what I know, it's supposed to be out by tomorrow for when we claim. So then at that point, you would be able to claim your Songbird delegation rewards for having been in the XFi smart contracts for a week or two. So we should see that tomorrow. If it's not out, I'm going to reach out to them for sure. And then additionally, just because the UI is not out to do it doesn't mean that your assets, you didn't earn anything for the week. It's just like they need to create a way for us to interact with the blockchain and claim them from the system they set up. So, yeah, kind of waiting.
They were able to use, be able to earn yield from this inbuilt capability of Songbird, and Spark's going to have the same one. And then you could use that asset in DeFi. It's something, this is why this is a whole new asset class, and it's not even just a currency. It comes with inbuilt yield. So it's just a cool feature that we're receiving airdrops of these tokens, Songbird, and eventually Spark, that they come with this inbuilt, no risk inbuilt yield, and then you're able to deploy it. So this is the first real action, right, Patty, that we're able to earn those FTSO rewards and then use it in DeFi, right? Something we've been talking about for months, and now it finally is able to occur.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's exciting. I'm excited for this airdrop. I really want to see, the governance staking pool and all that stuff come out on Songbird Finance and seeing how people interact with that. I'm also really curious to see what people are going to value this token at out the gate as well. I think that's going to be interesting. As a reminder, it's going to have XFi will have a 40 million token circulating supply out the gate. There's 40 million in an APY cloud reserve pool, which may never be tapped into. I think the team gets like 10 million, and then another 20 million is going to the Flare Finance Foundation. So, 40 million tokens on the market. Let's just say it's $3. It's $120 million market cap. I think that's probably pretty low for it, maybe out the gate, with how much people hopped on to Songbird and how well it's performed since then. So we'll have to see, what happens with that. But I think that's going to be really interesting to see what people are going to, look at paying for the secondary governance token on Songbird Finance. So.
All right. On that note, I think we're going to wrap it up, Patty. We're almost at an hour and 20. It's one of our longer live streams. Was there any last things you wanted to mention?
Go Dogs. We got the SEC championship tomorrow, so I'm pretty excited. But yeah, nothing
Nothing SEC
crypto related. Yeah, the other SEC. That one's also really hated by most of America too. So
we don't have Gary Gensler at the head over there. But let me just address this last thing. Drone does have a good point here that the U.S. SEC does affect the entire world and what they're doing, and it has, affected everybody in other parts of the world, and it has XRP from really maximize to get into a potential, even going with this bull run right now. So what does that mean when things are cleared up? It's just then explode even higher. Like Grayscale had to sell off all their XRP, and that crushed the price. So there were other impacts, that week right after the SEC came out with that. But I think it's all going to end pretty good for us in the next couple months here. I would like to see clarity come from the courts and from a summary judgment from the court that says XRP is not a digital security. We get that, and then it's off to the moon and beyond. They could fight the rest of the case out for months. I don't care. It doesn't matter to us. It doesn't even matter to Ripple, really. And XRP could go to where it belongs. Think of how suppressed it is right now. So I think this Christmas is one last opportunity, not financial advice, to be able to enjoy the rest of the market cycles. Who knows where they're going to go? But XRP is kind of on its own path because of the case and the situation that we're in. That impact on the clarity of XRP can impact the whole cycle itself. So we don't know exactly what's going to happen with the rest of the market once that clarity comes. And I'm pretty confident the clarity's coming. It's just a matter of when. So we'll see. Cool. All right. I think on that note, Patty, we're going to wrap it up.
Sounds good. All right. So this is the DeFi Standard. I'm Patty XRP.
And I'm Mickey B. Fresh.
And we're out. See y'all.